Hello everybody, today we got called out to do this area in a closet. Looks like they had a plumbing issue. Seems like lately I've been getting a lot of these plumbing jobs. It's good for me. They had to open up the wall, do whatever they had to do here, so we just got called in to just sheetrock it, tape, coat, and texture. Easy, easy, easy. They already have some masking on the baseboard, but I'm going to put some plastic down since it is carpet here, get this all plasticed off. We got plenty of wood backing here. I may have to add some wood backing on the sides here for the top part of the patch. We're just going to run a piece of sheetrock on the bottom, patch in that, get it all sheetrock. Then we're going to turn around and tape and first coat it, then second coat, then texture with the skip trowel texture. You see the texture here. Alright, first things first, let's get some plastic down and go get our hanging tools. We're going to need, of course, some 1.25" drywall screws, sheetrock, tape measure, pencil, screw gun, just the basic stuffs for now. I see a wire going through here. This just looks like a ground wire, so you want to make sure you measure this since they didn't put face plates on it, so you don't put a screw through here. It's more likely I'm going to mark it there, maybe even mark it there. They have a metal plate here, so that's good for the pipe. But you always want to make sure you check the wires and stuff. You don't want to put a screw through the sheetrock into that wire. They should have put it back further. It is what it is. There's no metal brackets on it, so we just want to mark our area so we don't put screws in there. Just stay away from that. Alright, this one's pretty easy. But yeah, let's get mark my studs, or you can put a screw right here just to mark them. Mark them with your pencil. You can mark the base area too. This one I don't want to cut it out because they actually kept the piece for the top. I just got a new sheetrock, this solid piece here, so this will fit here. But since they cut it stud to stud, I don't want to cut it back in because then I can't reuse a sheetrock. So I'm just going to put a stud here and put a stud on both sides, something to screw to. Simple technique. Adding wood backing. Common practice, adding wood backing and repair work. Also gives me something to screw to here, makes the patch stronger. Something to screw the existing patch to. This one I don't have a 2x3, that was my last one, so I'm just going to use wood sheeting that I had, no problem. Just get a few screws in it, just keeps it tight from moving. Now I can screw in this piece that they left here. You can also take a piece of this drywall off. Save it for a paint match. Always keep a piece for the paint match just in case you don't have a paint. There's a pipe here. I'm going to do myself a reminder. I'm going to mark it here. No. On the floor too. No. I don't want to put screws in the middle, even though I'm just putting screws there, just to remind me I don't want to put no screws here. The plumber should have had better piping, racked it, braced it. That's up to the plumber. They already had a plumber here, so that was up to him. Get stuff per code, whatever they had to do. So it is what it is. I'm just here to hang the patch. That one's in. Alright, easy match. This looks like 2 foot, but I'm going to double check it. Yep, right at 2 foot by 46.5. 2 foot by 46.5. I'm going to try to kick it down as low as possible. But yeah, let's get a piece of sheetrock. This is 1/2 inch. I got to cut a new piece of sheetrock. Also here where I mark the studs, I like to put screws in existing drywall to tighten that up. Tighten that up. Tighten that up. This just tightens up everything. You don't want loose old sheetrock on the seam because that's where it'd crack out. So you got to put screws in old sheetrock. So when people say, oh, fiberglass is no good, fiberglass tape cracks, no, it don't crack. You got to put screws in everything to make sure stuff's tight. Everything has to be tight before you tape it and mud it. Alright, let's go cut the sheetrock for this, 46.5 by 2 foot. Alright, it's going to be a tight area, so hopefully it fits in easily. If not, I'm going to have to cut it back. Kick it down. There's baseboard here, so I'm going to have to notch the baseboard areas. I'm hoping I don't have to. Oh, pretty tight here. Pretty tight here. It's kicked down to the floor, so I just got to notch where the patch was. Just cut it back. Just cut it back. Oh, look at that. Since I marked my studs there, I know where it is. Put the screws in it, tighten it up. That's a nice tight finish. So you have quick tape area. Boom, boom, boom. Also my stud, my one that I added in there, the wood backing, I can put a screw in there now. That makes that patch tight right there. Same thing here. That tight patch. Remember the pipe goes down here. Remember there's a wire right around here. So I just want to stay away from that area with screws. Just remind myself. Or you could take a picture of it, or if you want to really get into it, you can measure it exactly, but I just stay away when I put screws in there. You don't need a ton of screws in here. I like to get at least 4 to 6 screws in every patch area. Go down. If you miss the stud, kick it over to the right, kick it over to the left until you hit the stud. So that's why we like to mark it. We know where the stud is. There you go. That stud. I know there's studs in the angle. Always get screws in the angles. Nothing's worse than cracked out angles because they don't put screws in the angles. So you always want to tighten up your angles. Tighten up your angles. One mark here. If you go too far with the screw and it pops the paper, just put another one in it, no big deal. You don't want to go too far in the screws. You're not trying to go through the drywall, just trying to make them recess so you can coat over them with mud. Sometimes people have a setting on here. You can adjust the setting, clutch if need be. I don't like to use it. That's why I use a littler drill. It's not as powerful. It's perfect for drywall patching. Screws in your angles every 3 to 6 inches or whatever. Make everything tight. This is down to the floor. They have to put baseboard on later, but they don't really have to put baseboard on because there's no gap there. Baseboard's just a finishing thing. That wire there, so I'm just going to skip that area altogether. Just go below it. It's a tight area here because we have that metal bracket for the plumbing. So you're going to have angle. I like to get a couple screws in the footer base area too whenever possible. Just tightens the bottom up. Tightens it all up. Everything's good. Double check everything. Make sure you got plenty of screws in it. Looks good from here. Any extra screws? I don't want to waste screws, so I throw any screws in the bag. 6-inch knife. Scrape your area that you're going to tape. Scrape it. Angles here is small enough. I can do a paper, 90-degree paper tape, or just use a fiberglass mesh. It's small enough I'm going to use a fiberglass mesh. Spray glue, optional product. The only reason I use spray glue because of fiberglass, it's sticky, but it's not really sticky. It likes to stick to new drywall, no problem. Old painted walls, not so much. So that's why I use a spray glue just to hold it in place until I can mud over it. Just a little bit. Optional product. You don't even need this stuff really. It's just something I like to have on hand. I like to clean out any spray things when I'm done using it, tipping the can upside down just to clear the sprayer because I don't want that to get clogged up so it doesn't work. fiberglass mesh tape. I always use fiberglass mesh tape in repairs. If you hang the repair and put plenty of screws, you'll never have crack outs. Fiberglass everything. You can't miss stuff. I worked with guys that missed an inch here, missed a gap here. You gotta fiberglass everything. All the cracks, all the seams, all the joints, all the angles. Everything needs fiberglass. If you don't fiberglass it or tape it, it shall crack. Angles, I just do the length of it. I'm just going to put it in the angle like that, 90 degree. Some guys don't like to do this technique, but it works on small stuff like this. Knife, 90 degree. At 90 degree corners. Same thing here, this side. Goes down to the bottom. 90 degrees. 90 degrees. Make sure all your tape's pushed down. Everything looks good. You can put away all your tools, your hanging supplies. We're done hanging this patch. Now we're ready for our first coat. First coat, I'm just going to use a quick set material because I have to finish this job. If you were doing this on your own and you never worked with mud before, just use an all-purpose joint compound. I'm done with all my hanging tools, tape measure, screw gun, everything here. I don't need it anymore. I'm going to get it out of here so I don't get it covered in mud, drop mud on my tools, because now we're going to start mudding. But yeah, this is ready for mud coat. First coat. Alright, first coat. This is a quick set mud. Of course, if you never mudded before, just use a joint compound. I got to finish this job start to finish in one trip. And coat it with a knife. I like to strike in my tape first. Strike it in. This is just pushing the mud inside the gaps and the weave of the fiberglass, the netting. Get that mud pushed in there. This is the step guys don't use when they use fiberglass. That's why they say fiberglass is no good. Well, you got to do that. Alright, now we can coat it out. Coat this whole top part since it's textured and it's going right to the wood here. Nice coat. And I go down one more. Really coating that seam nicely. My angles, I'm using my 6-inch knife and I just strike in one side, strike in the other. Now I'm going to pull it. Pulling one side with my 6-inch knife. 90 degree, any gaps, so put more mud on it and do it again. Go back the other direction. Good enough. Screw holes, nail holes. These base ones, even though it's getting baseboard, I still like to put mud over my screw holes so it's a finished product. This angle, same thing. Alright, mud's on. I'm going to trowel down this coat here, this direction, that direction. I'm going to meet in the middle here with the lap mark, knife lap mark in the middle. Feather the edge, feather the edge, nothing to it. Just let that dry, okay? Just coat it. Coat's just to fill in everything. Nice coat. Alright, too heavy. Let it dry. Coat it out. Sponge, slick out technique. I start in the angles first. 90 degree angles are most important. I'm really pushing down with that sponge. I'm getting that mud pushed into that 90 degree angle. Getting rid of the edge. Getting rid of the edges here. This angle on this side, same thing. Working the angle. That mud's pushing in the angle. You can also take your finger up and down the angle and it fills it in almost like you're caulking the angle, making a nice 90 degree angle. Going over everything with the damp wet sponge. I'm going to take my 6-inch and slick it out, I'm taking off the excess material, especially in the patch area, the coat area. I like to work it going the opposite direction of my coat, and taking that extra material and using it as I move along to fill in any chatters, waves. The mud's not fully set up, you're just manipulating the mud. This is a quick set material, a professional grade material, so if you use this stuff, you better know what you're doing. So just the back closet wall, so it's way better than it was. Nice and tight around the edge. Any gaps, scratches, chatters, just fill them in. That's pretty much it for that. I might even caulk in these angles before I texture, just so I know they're done. Any excess mud, take it off with your sponge. Get rid of the edges. Hit the edges, get rid of these side marks. It's pretty much ready for texture, but I'm going to caulk the angles first, and then I'm going to follow through with the skip trowel texture. This could be done before you paint, but I already have it here and I have time, so I'm just going to makes it look nice. Caulking in angles. Makes perfect angles. But you can leave this up to the painter. Sometimes it's easier to do it after the texture dries. Alright, now we're ready for texture. Alright, it's all set up. Caulking just makes the job look perfect. I'm going to do a skip trowel texture. It's hard to see because I'm working in a closet. Let's get this all skip trowel, all-purpose joint compound, 6-inch knife, thinned, ready to go for skip trowel texture. I caulk the angles, so I'm going to stay out of the angles. I'm just going to skip trowel the wall part and angle there, skip trowel that, boom, 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 boom. Cleans it up, man. Stay out of the caulking, just pulling the angle, wall side, since I had to take the wall side here. Start on top, bring it down. You could use a bigger knife, but on these small areas I just like to use a 6-inch knife for the skip trowel. No big deal. You get mud in the angle, no big deal. Just follow through with your finger like you're re-caulking it. Pulling my angle first. I'm going down all the way to the bottom. Even though they're going to put baseboard on here, I like to go below the baseboard. Sometimes when you do the skip trowel, it does a start mark, so that's why I like to go past the baseboard area. So if they put baseboard, it'll cover the start mark. Skip this out, no big deal. Goes every which direction. Pull up from the bottoms, pull up from the bottoms. Sometimes pulling up on skip trowel is kind of tricky. Alright, once it's all skip trowel, just clean up your plastic. Don't leave your plastic overnight. Just pull your plastic. It just makes a big mess if you let it sit overnight. Let it dry 24 hours. Sand, primer, and paint. Always sand textures with 150 grit. Primer with a PVA drywall sealer or Kills 2 latex.